No, don't worry.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Our guest today is a classical singer who was trained at the Conservatorium of Music in Melbourne, Australia, and has performed on stage more than 100 times across Australia and in Europe. She's also performed in front of stages of up to 5,000 men and women. As a consultant, she has shown more than 250 people how to overcome performance anxiety and deal with setbacks more effectively. And today she's going to show you how to get the performer's edge in your personal and professional life. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help us welcome to the Mental Detox podcast, our good friend, Cailin Howarth. Welcome.
Welcome, Cailin.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
My gosh, in front of 5,000 people. That must be a surreal experience. It must be just looking over a sea of people. How were the nerves?
It's funny. It changes over time. You do become more used to it the more times you do it. But there's always that moment before you walk on stage of just almost terror. And then as soon as you start, it's just invigorating.
Wonderful. I love that word, invigorating. Now, you're many things. You're a business owner. You're a freelance classical singer and a management consultant. You deliver psychometric assessments. You've traveled around the world singing on stages of up to 5,000 people. How have you managed to do so much in such a short period of time? How have you managed that?
So I guess for me, I have a wide range of interests, and I'm a highly driven person, and I just love becoming a leader in certain areas. So, I mean, I started off with music when I was young, and I studied at the Conservatorium, as you said, and through that experience, I became really interested in the performance psychology side. So why do certain people succeed in performing? Why do certain people deal with setbacks better? Why do certain people suffer with performance anxiety more? And it was from there that I ventured more into the psychological side of performance and began working in business psychology as a management consultant, where I learned a lot about psychometrics and how to use those to best enhance people's performance. And I just love learning. I love learning about as much as I can, and just learning is a big part of my life. And I think that's why I've managed to, at this point, do so many different kinds of things, because I'm always trying to learn something new.
I'm sure a lot of people have dreams of singing on the stage, and they maybe think in their own mind that the gods had come down off the mountain in Olympus and touched you on the head and gave you all these superpowers. And they said, thou shalt succeed and thou shalt fail. Is that the truth? Or have you had to overcome obstacles on your journey to success?
Absolutely not. There have been so many obstacles, and I am absolutely one who doesn't believe that talent plays a huge role in success. In my experience, it has so much more to do with the time and the effort and the motivation to succeed than anything else. When I think about it in singing terms, you might be born with, really large lungs and a really large voice box or larynx, for example. But if you don't then put in the work to develop those natural abilities or those natural skills, then you're not going to get very far in whatever it is you choose to do, in my personal opinion. For me, there's been so many challenges to overcome. I experienced some of the challenges in my singing that a lot of my clients do: performance anxiety, thinking I'm not good enough. And so it's given me a really good perspective now to be able to support people who are experiencing the same things.
I agree. As I mentioned before, my mother wanted me to be a boy soprano. And when I was young, I would say to myself, I don't want to have that high voice. And when I got older and I started to do more business, I realized that having a good speaker's voice was absolutely critical to success. And I went out and hired one of the world's top vocal coaches by the name of Bob Korf. And we've worked together for almost 3 years now. And at the start, my voice did not resonate. But through practice, rehearsing, feedback, and guidance, it now resonates. And it's a very different voice 3 years from before. And so what I know is that these things can be developed should you have the desire to do it. I didn't have talent in speaking. I didn't like to public speak, but I learned the skills. So I absolutely agree there.
Yes.
Now, what you say is that a lack of belief holds people back. What are some of these self-limiting beliefs that hold people back? In your opinion, what do you see in your field?
Yeah, so for the people that I work with, which is sort of creative people, performing artists, the biggest thing that holds people back from success is the belief that they can actually do what they want to do, which people find surprising given that performers, being on stage in front of 5,000 people, as you said, a lot of people assume that you must be incredibly confident if you can get up there and perform in front of people. But the truth is, so many people in my industry that I'm working with now are still terrified. So yeah, improving self-efficacy and confidence is a big thing that I speak about with my clients.
So self-efficacy, what is it? And how do I get more of it? I'm greedy. I want it for me. How do I get it?
Don't we all? Don't we all? So self-efficacy is the belief that we have in our own abilities to do specific tasks. And it's different from desire, and it's also different from confidence, which is generalized. So it's in my instance, or in a performer's instance, self-efficacy would be, I believe that I can go out there on stage and sing this aria really well. And one way that I speak about with my clients to improve their self-efficacy is to keep a list of 3 things with them at all times. A list of 3 things that they know that make them really good at what they do. Because when we face setbacks, or we're nervous, or we're having some kind of negative self-talk, people who experience a decreased level of belief in themselves, that's when negative self-talk comes up. So if we can change the way that people see themselves and their beliefs, it improves their self-efficacy. So these things might be, in my instance, my 3 things are that I write down are that I know make me good at what I do are all of my clients have had a positive experience working with me, and it's made a positive impact on their career. The second thing is that I have a very specific skill set and a niche skill set that's been honed over many years, which enables me to support my clients. So by keeping a list of these things that make us good at what we do, we can refer back to them in times where we might be doubting ourselves.
There's a research that I was looking at recently, and only about 36% of the population are able to identify an emotion that they're experiencing at any given time. And I've also learned that most people don't have an acute awareness of what their strengths are. They can be very general. I'm good at this, I'm good at that, but they don't truly know. When you work with people, what are some of the things that they start to learn about their special skill sets? What do you see come up to the surface and they start to have these aha and breakthrough moments?
Yeah, so I use a lot of psychometric tests in my coaching with people, which helps to identify these strengths in people. And what I have found, I learned how to use these, and I was trained to use these psychometric tests working as a management consultant, and I now use them with my performing arts clients. And what I have found is that people, as you said, are often not aware of strengths that they have. So by saying, look, this is what the data says, these are strengths of yours, that really changes people's opinions on what they can actually do and what they can actually achieve, because we are often so much capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. So even just making people aware of these strengths that they have, I have found to be a really powerful tool for improving people's confidence and their self-efficacy.
I love psychometric assessments. I was doing one for myself probably about this time last year, and I made a video on it. And one of the strengths that I had was setting high standards. That was the first thing.
Yep.
But the the part that held me back was that I was setting standards so high for myself that only failure was possible. So the strength was I'd set a high standard, but it was so out of reach that I always
impossibly high standards.
And then it actually set me back in my personal evolution. And it wasn't until my coach pointed that out that they said, look, there's a strength and a weakness here. It's helping, but it's also hurting you. And just that one piece of awareness it brought it back into my attention, and consciously I could start to manage it. And it made a huge difference. And I'm a big believer. I believe you use Hogan assessments. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Wonderful assessments. And if people haven't used them before, they should start to use them today, in my opinion. Absolutely. Yeah. Have you done these assessments before?
Not with this one. I don't think I did.
But have you done assessments before?
Yes, I did.
Which one?
The EQ assessment.
And how long did it take you to do it?
Probably about 2 years. Like my husband, when you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. But for me, like, as you said, we thought that we're okay. We don't need those assessments to tell us who we really are. But when the assessment came out, I kind of surprised. Like my score is not low, but I would expect a little bit higher than that. And I think I really like the point when you share that, when we doing those assessments, we see the strength of ourselves, because most of the time, most of the people probably just focusing on the weakness, as you say, I'm not good enough, I couldn't do this. But actually, when bring out those assessments, like us focusing on the positive side of us, I think that's brilliant and wonderful.
That's absolutely my approach, focusing on the positive to bring about a sense of self-awareness. If you're more aware of your strengths, you're going to be more confident, and with higher confidence, you're going to put yourself out there for more things. And if you put yourself out there for more things, you're more likely to get better opportunities and better chances of success. So I very much take a positive psychology approach.
We had a client in Melbourne, very high performer, and he was earning about $600,000 per year on straight commissions. And every opportunity he had to take an assessment, he'd jump on it. Because he said two things. He said, one, you have to constantly learn about who you are and what you can do. You've also got to learn what holds you back and the things that you're not strong at. That was the first thing he said. The second thing he said is the scariest thing in your life is actually to find out who you are and who you are not. And we had this conversation with somebody else in the office, and the other teammate put off taking the assessment for 8 months because he was actually petrified to find out who he really was. And I sat down and I said, look, what are you worried about? He said, I'm really worried about learning about who I actually am. And I said, why is that? He said, because I don't like myself and who I have become. And eventually he took the assessment and he was shocked to discover he was a different person and he wasn't playing to his strengths. That self-perception was totally different. And when he realized, when he took this assessment, that's who he was and how he went about things and what drove him, he said, I've got it wrong. I've been playing small. I haven't been using my strengths. And as soon as he started to utilize these strengths that he became aware of, his sales results doubled and quadrupled. And he went from one of a good performer in Victoria to one of the top performers, doubling his income. Phenomenal.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I think, having a greater sense of self-awareness and improving your confidence is not only good for your psychological state, but it's also, in my experience with the performers that I work with, really good for the technical side of performance as well. So I've been working with a client recently, and we've been working very much on confidence and feeling as though he deserves to be at the position where he is. And what we have found that as we've been working on improving his confidence, he said in our last session, my technical ability has increased dramatically. It's just so much easier to do my craft. And it's all happened with this sort of release of negative energy or negative self-belief around his abilities. With that release, he's now been able to focus more on the technical side, and his actual performance has improved. So it's, you know, it's all interlinked.
Absolutely. For those people who are following us and our friends, how can they learn more about your work and learn more about the assessments that you deliver to help them gain the performer's edge? What's the best place to start to follow you? Where should they go?
Yeah, I would welcome you to visit my website, which is theperformersedge.world, or you can follow me on Instagram, which is the.performers.edge.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we will do is we'll put the website below here, theperformersedge.world, not just .com.au, not .com.asia, but the world. So head over and follow Cailin Howarth right now. And Cailin, thank you so much for sharing these ideas. And I know that they're going to help a lot of people, not just in Australia, but around the world. These are important things for everybody to learn right now. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Our pleasure. You have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.
You too. Bye.